Welcome to your engineering first year. When did your offline classes begin? January. Okay. Okay. So all of you would have come to BMS with lot of expectations, and the last 2 years, especially with the pandemic and the online classes, one thing we would have realized more than ever before is it's indeed very painful to control our raging mind sometimes. Yes, in 2005 to 2007, that's when I was preparing for my IIT JEE, and those days we didn't have this much of bombardment of social media, we didn't have so much of computer gaming, etc. And okay, some students are coming. Yeah, so in 2007 we didn't have all this as much as what it is today, and with so little distractions, still when we got a 2 months study holiday, many of us including me got addicted to computer gaming. There were hardly 1 or 2 computer games those days, and how many? It was just 2 months and then we got addicted. So I'm sure many of you during this last pandemic phase, you would have understood that indeed sometimes the mind is a very, very difficult person to control. Yes, so that is what we are going to see today. There's something called root cause analysis in any problem, right? Okay, when you're doing your research, like I did my research from NIT Surathkal, MTech by research, and I was surprised. I was working with Cadence, and along with my job, I wanted to pursue my research. So they allotted the first 6 months, okay, and they told, we give you 6 months, and what are you supposed to do in this 6 months? Just identify a real problem that you need to solve or take it up as a project statement. So how many months were allotted to find out the project statement? 6 months. And many a times what do we do? 5.5 months, aram se we be, and then last 10 days, 15 days, we search on Google or something for project, right? But what I understood from that whole exercise is the most difficult thing for any of us is to actually go to the root cause of a problem. Because we may think this is a problem statement, but when you dig deep, you will realize that's not a real problem statement. The problem is something else. And then when you dig deep, you will see that that's not the problem, there's something else. So what we are today going to try to do in the next 40-45 minutes is try to do a root cause analysis of who exactly is this mind that we are talking about, right? Many of us say, my mind gets disturbed, my mind is sometimes distracted, etc. But we need to analyze what exactly the mind means according to the Bhagavad Gita, according to the Vedic wisdom, what exactly mind means, and then why mind is powerful. All of you have some experience already, and the last part, the most important one, practical tips for mind control. Okay, so this is what we are going to see today. So first thing is, who is the mind? I'll give you 2 examples to make us understand what exactly the mind is. This comes from the Katha Upanishad, and the example is very easy to understand. You see the 5 horses, right? And the 5 horses is controlled by what? By the rope. And who's controlling the rope? The chariot driver. And who's the person sitting behind? The passenger, right? This analogy is given for us to understand who we are, what is the mind, all such things. So the analogy is as follows. The 5 horses which have a tendency to run hither and thither, right? These are the 5 sense organs of the human body. So the 5 senses are from where inputs come. And the Bhagavad Gita gives a very nice example of how every one of these senses can cause tremendous devastation to a person, as much as even death of a person. For example, the tongue. the fish has a weakness of the tongue, and it knows for sure never in its life will any prey come sitting in front of him and say, please eat me. And that's what the fisherman does. He puts a bait, right? And then the fish sees a worm, and the fish, if at all had used its intelligence, it would have understood, here I am up for something, it's something fishy, right? Fish will think something is fishy, right? Because never will you ever get prey waiting in front of you saying, eat me. But the fish thinks, because the fish's tongue is uncontrolled, the fish thinks, wow, such a lucky day for me today. The prey is sitting right in front of me. And what is the nature of the uncontrolled tongue? The moment it bites, it sees there's something strange, something pierces in its mouth, right? But because it is attached to chewing, it goes on chewing and chewing, and as it chews and puts the worm deeper, what happens? The hook gets deeper and deeper and then catches the fish, and then the fish is killed, right? So we see the example of the weakness of tongue, and who is killed by it? The fish. Similarly, the firefly. How is the firefly killed? Any idea? The firefly has a problem. Anything that it sees is bright and illuminating. It thinks there's some wonderful pleasure kept in front. And the brightest thing, unfortunately for the firefly, is red hot fire. Okay, so when it sees the red hot fire, it thinks, oh, I'm in for some good pleasure, and it goes head on, and then what happens? Gets burnt there. Same with the deer. The deer has the weakness of ears. You know how the hunter catches the deer? If you have done some safari and all with some hunt, they'll explain also. So the deer has the weakness of ear. All you have to do is the hunter actually plays some soothing music, and the deer gets mesmerized by the music, and then it starts closing its eyes and then goes on meditating on the music, and then the deer is easily caught. So this is the deer. And then the elephant. The elephant in the circus, if you have ever inquired, how did you catch and bring this huge elephant? What is the standard trick to catch the elephant? The elephant has a weakness of the sense of touch. All they do is they put a she elephant in front of the he elephant, and then he goes running behind, and the she elephant is trained. Okay, the she elephant is trained that we have put a big, what do we say, a pit kind, and then she doesn't go there, the he elephant goes and then falls into the pit. So this is the weakness of the skin. And then what are the senses we talked about? Eyes we spoke, ears, and nose. Nose, the honeybee. The honeybee has a weakness of the nose. So when it smells fragrance, it goes and stays into the flower. And unfortunately, God's creation is such that the most fragrant flower is called Ketaki flower. What is the problem with Ketaki? Ketaki flower, unfortunately, although is the most fragrant, is an insectivorous plant. Okay. So the moment this honeybee goes into the flower, it's mesmerized and intoxicated by the smell, and it opens its head up and it sees that the Ketaki flower is slowly closing. And like many of us have had this experience, when we go and watch the IPL match, when tomorrow we have our exam, we are also seeing the clock is slowly coming closer to our exam. But what do? One more over, one more ball, let me hope Dhoni may hit a 6 or Kohli may hit a 6, like that. We go on, right? In the same way, all that the honeybee has to do is, it sees that the flower is closing, just has to give it up and go out. But it thinks one more puff I'll take. It's too fragrant. But in the end what happens? The Ketaki flower closes and the honeybee is dead. So this is the experience which all of us have. And the Vedas say these 5 horses are like the 5 senses. And these 5 examples I spoke, right? And these are one species having a weakness of one sense organ. But the problem with the human being is we are expert in getting uncontrolled with all these 5 senses. The bee will not have a weakness of the eye. The deer will not have a weakness of the skin. But in the human being, there is a potential that all these 5 can cause death of a person, or all these 5 can also cause success to that person if he knows how to control his or her senses, right? So these 5 horses which makes a person go crazy are the 5 senses. And how do we control these 5 senses? The Katha Upanishad says the rope is called the mind. The mind has to control these 5 senses because the mind is supposed to be superior to the senses, right? For example, and the rope, think about it. If let's say there are 5 horses and the 5 horses are governed by a very nice rope, but the only problem is, let us say, the chariot driver is not there at all. Even with the best of the rope, do you think we can control the horses? No, right? You need a chariot driver. So the chariot driver is compared to our good intelligence. So please remember, we have a mind, we have something called intelligence, and both are different. We are going to see what both is. Okay, what is the mind, what is the intelligence, and who are we? We are neither the mind, we are neither the intelligence. We are the passenger seated behind, called the Atma, who is seated, right? Think about this. Let's say your JE or CET or ComEdK, whatever exam you are writing, you have booked a Ola cab. The cab that you booked was probably some ordinary cab, but you got a Mercedes Benz. Ola doesn't have, but imagine, okay, let's say a Mercedes Benz came. Car looks very good, okay. Imagine the driver is a terrorist or something, okay. Will you be happy even if you are in the best of the Mercedes Benz? No, right? So for the passenger to be happy, all of these have to be good. Our senses have to be good. Imagine the driver is very good, but the car is gone. Will you be still happy? No, right? So we need to make sure that the car driver is good, the steering is like the mind, that is also good, and the body or the 5 senses is like the entire car, right? All of them, when they are good, then the passenger is happy. In this world, many a times we are not happy because we either fail to regulate one of them or all of them. That is the whole issue, right? So now the second example will make things more clear for you. What is the mind and what is the intelligence? Okay, this is like the computer. In computer terminology, the 5 senses are like the input devices to a computer. We have the keyboard, we have the mouse, right, where we get inputs from outside world. These are like the 5 senses. And who is the mind? Mind is just like the memory of a computer. Who is the mind? Is just like the memory of a computer. Okay, question for all of you. In the computer terminology, we have 2 types of memory. What are the 2 types? Primary memory and secondary memory, right? Primary is that which we often use, and secondary is something which we retrieve whenever needed, not daily. In the same way, daily whatever things are stored in our mind, day to day activities, as soon as you get up, it's not that somebody has to remind, hey, you are a student of BMS, you have to go to the college, right? No, it's automatically there, right? Things that you are routine doing day in, day out, that's stored where? It's stored in the primary memory, which is called your conscious mind. What is the primary memory called? Your conscious mind. And the secondary memory is called your subconscious mind. For example, you may not have listened to a movie song, but suddenly, out of nowhere, you may suddenly be murmuring that song which you had heard when you were in 5th standard, etc. Right? That is coming from where? Not from your conscious mind, but it's coming from the subconscious mind. So I'm going to speak about the solution for mind control at this slide itself to a large extent. So I want you to pay attention. So now that we have root caused and understood mind is just like the memory of a computer. Okay? And what is the intelligence? Intelligence is like the decision maker in a computer. Okay? It's like the microcontroller which makes a decision. When inputs come, if, else, right? Who makes the control? The microcontroller takes the decision whether I should do if or else. That is what is the intelligence. Okay? So, intelligence is the decision maker, mind is storehouse of what? Unfulfilled desires, thoughts and previous experiences. Now, how do you think one can control the mind? Once we have understood what the mind is, things are very easy to understand. It's like the memory of a computer. Let's say last February 14th on Valentine's Day, you gave a rose to a person and then you got a tight slap. Okay. So then next February 14th, that impression comes as a pop-up. Beware, be careful this time. Or another example, let's say now you have come to Bangalore, we all know Indians are foodie many times, right? They explore hotels. So let's say one hotel you went and ate a nice masala dosa. Next time when you are walking by, a pop-up will come. Hey, last time you tried it, why don't you try again, right? Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? The mind. Because mind is where all your experiences are stored. All your unfulfilled desires are stored. Now how do we deal with the mind? Very simple. It's as simple as this. When you search, let us say Virat Kohli, we search on Google, right? Next time you type V, what is going to come? Because the algorithm stores your data. But the problem is, in Google we know how to cheat Google also. We can clear history. We can clear browsing history, we can clear all things, and then when you search V, it can't. But the unfortunate problem is our mind history cannot be cleared so easily. So just like on YouTube you can clear history like this, but the mind's history can't be cleared. So the root cause of our challenges that we are facing with the mind is the kind of inputs that we allow to come into the system. Because it's going to get stored and then every time it gives a pop-up, okay, last time you watched this, last time you did this, last time you experienced this, do you want to do it again, do you want to do it again, right? So how do we clean up? Okay, now I have a computer science question for all of you. Imagine Google didn't have an option of clearing history at all, okay? Imagine Google did not have an option of clearing history. You searched V for Virat Kohli, then you realize, no, I should be doing something more useful. You are now searching V for Vishnu or Vibgyor or something useful, okay. So now if clearing history is not there, how do you eliminate Virat Kohli from the hit list? What do you do? Come on, I think all of you are smarter than me also, for sure. How does Google's AI algorithm work? It just takes your previous inputs and predicts, right? So again and again, when you stop searching Virat Kohli and V for Vishnu, V for Vaishnava, V for Veda, V for Vedanta, like that. Many things you start searching, eventually Virat Kohli won't appear in the playlist, in the hit list, isn't it? That's exactly what the Vedas say. The good part for us is mind is a dead device. Mind is what? A dead device, like the memory of a computer. Now the more and more you give good inputs to the mind, then very soon those inputs which are troubling us will no longer trouble us. But you should make sure you don't search for Virat Kohli for a prolonged period of time and keep searching something different so that eventually the algorithm understands, yes, now he is not interested in this anymore. Are you getting the sum and substance of how to deal with the mind? It's as simple as that. Once you know this is just a memory of a computer, if I learn to store good things, then the mind is going to be very favorable for me. It is always going to give me good options, right? Imagine And the problem with our teenagers, I keep telling our 11th and 12th students, is we don't realize there are 5 different levels of happiness. How many levels of happiness are there? 5. The lowest level is called Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha means the happiness that you get when you eat some tasty food through not just your tongue, through any of your senses, means listen to some sweet music, taste something, watch something nice, right? This all comes under what? Annamaya Kosha. And the Vedas say this is the most trivial form of enjoyment. Why? Because if you analyze Annamaya Kosha, the happiness doesn't stay for long. How long will you taste the masala dosa? As long as it's in contact with your tongue. Once it goes into your belly, you can't get it back and chew again and feel the same experience. Yes? Even if you try vomiting and then hold it here, I'm not asking you to do, but think about it. Do you get back the same pleasure? No. You only feel more irritable, right? So this is Annamaya Kosha. That which you felt will give you happiness lasted only for a moment. Higher than Annamaya Kosha is called Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha means the happiness that you experience. Students, please stay focused. Okay, please. Higher than Annamaya Kosha is something called Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha means the happiness that we experience when our future security needs are taken care. For example, imagine I tell all of you, because all of you have attended my session, I am going to guarantee give you a 30 lakh package at Google, even whether you fail in all the subjects of engineering. You will feel nice, right? Why? Because your future is taken care. That gives you a sense of satisfaction. Why have you left your home where you get tasty food and you have come to hostel? I was also part of hostel, where if you are fortunate, you may get some dead worms in the food. If you are more fortunate, you may get some alive cockroaches also, right? So we have seen this. All the best. I am not sure how it is, but at NITs sometimes it does happen. So it's not intentional, but it happens. Why? Why do we leave the Annamaya Kosha, the tasty food of our mother, and come to a far off place? Why? Because we see I get a higher standard of pleasure when my future is taken care. Pranamaya Kosha. And problem with India is 99% of your parents say this is the perspective of education. You should study so that your future is secure. But unfortunately, our children don't listen to it, including all of you. Yes, why? Because higher than Pranamaya Kosha is something called Manomaya Kosha. Manomaya Kosha means the happiness that you get from your mind. And what all gives happiness to the mind? Computer games, YouTube, social media, all these give instant pleasure to the mind. Now your parent, your teachers may be saying, beta, your future is at stake. Pranamaya Kosha, you will say, chod do, I am getting more instant happiness at Manomaya Kosha. Hell with it, right? This is the problem that's happening. So currently, all the distractions that we are facing is because we are certainly experiencing some pleasure. But that pleasure is at which level? Which level? Manomaya Kosha. But the scriptures say, why are you satisfied with Manomaya Kosha? There are higher forms of happiness for you. You have not even gone to explore that. And what is that higher forms of happiness? Higher than Manomaya Kosha is something called Vijnanamaya Kosha. And what does Vijnanamaya Kosha mean? It means the happiness that you get not from your mind anymore. The happiness that you get from your intelligence. And I'll give you a simple example to make this clear. Okay. Imagine that you're playing PUBG game. You get some Manomaya Kosha. But think about it. Instead of playing the PUBG game, imagine you had designed the PUBG game and the whole world is using your product and they're mad after it. What is the experience that you'll feel? Different? Yes. And I tell you, forget about PUBG, which is distracting our young generation. Instead of inventing PUBG game, imagine you had invented a COVID life-saving drug and millions of people were saved, and all the population with tears of gratitude is coming and thanking you. You have done a great service to the society. What is the happiness that you feel? Isn't it more divine? Yes. So this is what is Vijnanamaya Kosha. For the first time in life, we are trying to use God-given skill for some noble purpose. Okay. Till now, we were only bothered about entertainment, and that gave us some drops of happiness. But when you use the God-given skill for a noble cause, and others start appreciating and blessing you wholeheartedly, then what happiness you get is more intense. Yes, I am sure none of you will say the happiest moment in my life was when I was playing Counter-Strike for 100 hours or something. I am not sure if you play for 100 hours continuously, but you will always say it was that athletics competition which I won, or the singing competition when we went for trekking and accomplished something, right? The accomplishment is something that gives you more sense of a self-worth. Oh, okay. God has created me with some purpose. I am also an useful contribution to the world. I am not a dead stone like that, right? Don't you feel something nice? That is the happiness which we get at Vijnanamaya Kosha. And higher than Vijnanamaya Kosh is called the Anandamaya Kosh. And Anandamaya Kosh means for the first time we start understanding, okay, I am so intelligent, I have made a nice Apple iPhone with 128 megapixel camera, etc. But look at the human eye. The human eye is so much more complicated than the Apple iPhone. Its precision. Even today, doctors cannot understand how many pixels is the human eye. They simply say 256, 500, etc. But it's more than that. Okay, they'll go on researching. Now you can start imagining, if I am proud of my intelligence, but the creation of God is more intelligent than my creation. So then who is that person? And let me also try to know who is he, what is my relation, what is my purpose in life. When you start introspecting on the spiritual aspect of life, then we get something called Anandamaya Kosh. Because till then you were bothered about your skills. Now you are thinking there's a person more intelligent than me, and I see his intelligence is nowhere closer to mine. It's so far superior. So let me try to understand about him that way. So this is the way to understand that the distractions are because we are convinced that pleasure is at mental level. But there are higher forms, and the Vedas say, please explore these higher forms of happiness, right? So how do we, is the mind our friend or enemy? Obviously, if the mind is controlled, it is the best of our friend. If it is uncontrolled, it is the worst of our enemy. Just like a knife, is it good or bad? Depends on who uses it. A surgeon, he can do marvels, but a terrorist, he can cause a lot of damage. Yes, the same way. Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita the same thing in the 6th chapter. For one whose mind is controlled, it's the best of friend. Yes, bandhur atmanastasya enatmai vatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartet atmaiva shatruvat. That way. So, and why dealing with the mind is important? Because mind has a very close relation to your habits. And we know how habits are very, very important, right? You can read this. Sow a thought, what does it reap? Reaps an action. Means you go on thinking about, okay, after the exam I want to watch this movie. You'll end up watching the movie, right? When you think, eventually it will become what? It will become an action. So everything starts from the mind. Mind gives a thought, and you munch on that thought, it becomes an action. And you perform that action repeatedly, what happens? Sow an action, what do you get? If you do a repetitive task again and again, what happens? It becomes a habit. You see the relation, right? It all started from the mind, from a thought, then eventually it becomes a habit. And when you keep cultivating different sets of habits, what happens to it? It forms a character of a person, isn't it? Oh, this person is a good character person. This person is a bad character person. Why? How do they judge the character of a person? Based on what? The habits that he cultivates, right? That's how they define. So you sow a habit, you reap a character. And many like-minded people, like character people, when they come together, what do they form? They form a culture. Okay, so that's why you see at home there's a different culture. Hostel, there is a different culture, or probably no culture. Yes, I was part of the hostel. So at home, sometimes when you come from very good pious families, you're supposed to take bath 3 times a day. At hostel, once in 3 days, save water. Okay, yes, okay, that's all. So you see the difference, right? Anyway, Axe effect is there, always. Oh, deodorant. So this is culture. You start associating with a certain type of characters, then you form a different culture. Right? And then you sow a culture, we eventually reap a destiny. So this is where, so from the mind is where our destination is decided. So it's very important that we control the mind. And Krishna tells to Arjuna, control the mind. And what does Arjuna tell in the Bhagavad Gita? He says, Chanchalam hi manak Krishna pramati balavadradam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. Okay, and he says, oh Krishna, you are telling me to control the mind, but it's very difficult. Chanchalam. Chanchalam means flickering, right? Chanchalam means what? Flickering. When you read chemistry, you'll say you have not understood engineering graphics. When you read engineering graphics and complete the assignment, it will say, hey, come on, today some IPL match is there, what are you wasting time here, like that. So flickering this. And pramati means it makes us go sufficiently mad. Yes, we have experienced it. The clock is ticking, we are still watching the TV, anxiety, I haven't studied for tomorrow, but still we don't press the switch off button, we keep going on. That means what? It makes us go mad. We are not happy while doing it. But still, like a mad person, we go on doing it. That is pramati. Balavad, very strong. Even if you try to give some excuse, you try to tell the mind, hey, why mind, you are troubling me so much. Tomorrow exam is there. No. Like a small child. You have seen a small child. You tell him, beta, please sit down. And he'll say, okay. After 1 minute, what will he do? Again he'll come. Papa, chocolate, he'll say. Right? So this is the mind. It's very firm, determined. And obstinate. Obstinate means whatever advice you give, it will give a counter logic. Like you say, one should not smoke, drink, but all others are trying. In youth only you can experience everything. Anything you give, it will give a counter argument. Very obstinate, very difficult, right? So this is the nature of the mind. So therefore, we have to work very hard. And Arjuna is saying it's easy to control the wind, but not the raging mind. So now how do we control then? If it's so difficult, is there no hope? No, there is a lot of hope. There are some, I already told the first solution for mind control. Now that we have understood that the mind is just a storehouse, we'll just need to reprogram the memory of the computer. The mind's memory must be reprogrammed, that's all. And where do we get all the scripts which are written in the mind? Where do you think all the inputs to the mind are coming? Can you name a few from where we get inputs? From the movies that we watch. Then where else do you think we can get the memory stored in the mind? From the songs that we listen, right? These days our 11th and 12th students are mad after K-pop. Okay, yes. So I keep telling them, it's okay to be mad after K-pop, but when you are born in such a pious land like India, and Bhagavad Gita is looked up as a solution for a perfect human being, a happy human life by the entire world, without even knowing Sanskrit and understanding Bhagavad Gita, why do you want to go and learn K-pop? Yes, so it's not bad, but I say, at least don't forget our own rich heritage. Try to learn that first, then try to do others. It's not that only on Independence Day we say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and suddenly when Bhagat Singh movie comes, like Amir Khan, we go light lamps and say, I love this person, I love this. All emotional, sentimental. On that day some emotional outburst comes. After that, we ask, read the Bhagavad Gita, hey, bakwas hai. Then what value we have for our Indian culture? Did Bhagat Singh fight? Did Nehru fight? Did Netaji fight? Yeah, that was a joke. Okay. Did Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose fight for what? For just an emotional outburst? No, they wanted to protect our rich heritage. And unfortunately, our children, after 1947, we have become independently dependent on the Western culture. We are independent, but independently we are choosing to become dependent on what? Western views. I am not saying everything there is wrong, but when you have something better, why don't you try to understand it first and see how to synthesize both to make a better solution, isn't it? So change the scripts by changing the inputs, right? And where do we get the inputs? From the books we read. Imagine you read 100 ways of murdering a person. Any book like that, what do you become? What do you become? Become one murderer only. Or 100 ways of copying in the exam but not getting caught. So you are also going to do that. The kind of books that we read is where we get the impressions from. The kind of movies that we watch, the kind of friends that we associate with, and the kind of music that we listen to, right? So all these have a tremendous impact on our mind. And as the computer terminology goes, GIGO principle, garbage in, garbage out, good in, good out. So we decide that what kind of healthy mind do we want to have, right? So this is the first solution, practical tip for mind control, right? Now that we have root caused what the mind is, try to change the inputs to more positive inputs. Then mind will become more cooperative with us, right? And the second one is the acronym HABITS, HABITS. If you remember this acronym with the headings and recollect constantly, it will help you to a large extent. I will speak about 3 maybe. Yes, I will speak about 3. H is higher knowledge, and we have 2 EEE teachers faculty also here. So we have the EEE formula H. H means higher knowledge, and what is it? EEE formula. And what does this EEE formula say? We will look at it. Then A is abstain and sustain, and B is be ready to change. IQ is not enough, time for SQ, we will see what that is. And T is transform your habits through 2R substitution method. And S is what are the different stages that we will see in our improvement, right? So that is what we are going to see now. So EEE formula means, many a time, how many of you agree, out of 24 hours in a day, it's not that the mind keeps troubling us 24 hours. Do you agree? It's only certain heavy impulses which come suddenly, and we just need to deal with them, right? It's not that all the time our minds are disturbed. Many a times it's okay, but sometimes it's like a heavy push. Do this, eat this, go here, do that, right? So how do we deal with that heavy impulses? We'll have to understand that along with our mind, God has also gifted us with the intelligence. Whenever a pop-up comes, right, when we are browsing on the internet, the pop-ups keep coming, but who decides whether to click on it or not? We. If we feel it's a distraction, we say X, close it. If we see that there's some value addition, we may click on it, right? Same way, whenever the mind troubles us, many a times what happens, we fail to recognize that we have an intelligence which we can take the right decision. We just act on impulses. How many times we have ended up saying something harsh to our friend or our parents, and then we retract back and say, I shouldn't have said it. Why? Because our mind is disturbed, we fail to consult the intelligence, and just we speak it out. Okay. So when you get some impulses and the mind is constantly bombarding you, do this, all you have to do is understand that you have an intelligence with you and consult the intelligence. That's what we are talking about in this slide, right? First, understand the existence of the mind with intelligence. Then examine the dialogues, make them talk to each other, mind and intelligence, and make sure that the intelligence is sufficiently empowered so that you take the right decision. Imagine the intelligence is corrupt. The mind is giving an idea. Hey, tomorrow is the end sem exam. You haven't studied 2 chapters. Why don't you write some bit papers and put it here? The mind may give an idea like that. Now, if the intelligence is corrupt, it will give 100 more ideas how you can get, you can copy but not get caught. But if the intelligence is sufficiently empowered, it will tell 100 reasons why you shouldn't do it, isn't it? And how do we make the intelligence strong? Any idea, students? We know that temptations are going to come. Mind is going to ask the intelligence. But I want to make sure intelligence gives the right direction. How do I make the intelligence sufficiently strong? Any guesses, students? Intelligence is like a discriminatory box, right? More and more you stuff in with wisdom from all the holy scriptures, all the mind management techniques, then it will have sufficient things to counteract the mind. So we can develop our intelligence by reading books, Vedic books or other wisdom literature, and also by attending such seminars where you start introspecting. Oh, okay, now I know how to deal with myself. Let me be part of these type of seminars more often, so that, because the amazing part of our mind is somehow anything good we learn, by the next week we will forget. But one wrong, bad scene that we have watched in 4th standard, still we will be able to recollect. Yes? Are you able to understand? This is the wonderful garbage box that we have. Yes, this mind has a tendency to safely preserve the garbage and intelligently throw out all the good things. So how do we make sure our intelligence is always kept strong? Regularly attend sessions so that the intelligence is constantly being again reminded. Yes, this is the way you have to argue. This is how you should say no, like that way. Are you getting it? And then the other way to make our intelligence strong is by meditation. Because intelligence means 2 things: discrimination and determination. Can you please repeat? What is intelligence? Discrimination and then determination. Many of us can get discrimination by attending these sessions, but the determination to do the right thing and say no to the wrong thing comes only with willpower. And the way to develop that willpower is meditation. Because when we do meditation, we are learning to keep our mind aloof and focus on only one thing. And the most purest thing of all is the holy names of God. That's what meditation is all about. You completely detach yourself from the world, from all the other thoughts, and try to focus only on the divine names of God, and that purifies your mind, purifies your intelligence, and gives us tremendous willpower. So these are the ways to develop intelligence. Did you get an idea how we deal with the mind? First, don't react, consult the intelligence, but parallelly make sure you make the intelligence stronger by attending such seminars regularly, reading some good books, and doing meditation. Okay, so that is the first thing. As I said, these are the tug of war type of things that you will see. The mind may say about a singing competition, it may say, I am scared, I don't think I can sing in the competition. But if the intelligence is strong, the intelligence will argue back and say, if you can sing well in the bathroom daily, why can't you give a try? But the mind is not going to let you so easily. It will say, what if I make a fool out of myself? Everyone will laugh at me. They'll put on Insta, they'll put on Facebook, they'll put emojis and laugh and do all things, etc. I'll become a laughing stock. But if the intelligence is strong, it will say, okay, if you are a failure, they may discuss about you for 3-4 days on the social media. But if you are a success, if you really make an impact there, you may be taken to the film industry and you may become a playback singer or an actual a music director or whatever, and then you will be posted on the social media for rest of your life. Are you able to understand, right? Anyway, do your best and leave the rest to God. That's how a strong intelligence argues back. So every activity that you do, you can analyze. There's a tug of war. Mind is giving 100 answers and intelligence is trying to convince, but many a times mind is more powerful. So it gets whatever it wants to do. by finally, right. So just we'll have to make the intelligence strong. Like another example, I am an engineer, I should at least know how to hold a cigar. Whether I know how to hold the drafter for the engineering graphics, that is secondary, but at least I should know how to hold a cigar. That way the mind will argue, but the intelligence will argue back saying, but that's a very dangerous habit. You wouldn't like to post a DP, check out mama, my latest DP, circles, triangles, all things, right. You won't like to, that's what is written there. Your parents won't like you to see doing this, right. They have given so much of their selfless love. In return, at least I can try to do whatever I am asked to do here in the right manner without getting this. Intelligence will argue back, but the mind will not leave so easily. It will put 100 other arguments. Yes, it's a trouble. I think it's fun. I should at least experience life once, right. And then if the intelligence is strong, actually if you carefully analyze, God's creation is made in such a way that you have heard this saying, Vedas say, Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. God is a very loving father, okay. He has made this world in such a way that you can be very happy if you are following the regulated principles. Let me give an example. Drinking water, drinking alcohol. Let's compare both. God has only created both of them, means in the world both are available, right. So water is more cost effective, it's healthy, yes, it doesn't make our mind addict, and you'll these are the advantages. Alcohol, more costly, damages our body, makes our mind go crazy, makes us addict. And in spite of all these disadvantages, our mind convinces us, let's pay extra and go to hell. We pay extra to go where? To go to hell. It's just like you go to a mall, shopping mall, and you pay 1000 rupees, and the mall owner asks us, what do you want? Sir, I just need 100 slaps, sir. This mall owner will say, what a fool, let him come to my shop every day. But unfortunately, when our minds are uncontrolled, this is what we are doing, paying extra and inviting what? Inviting suffering. Why should we do this? Isn't it? And the Vedas give an example also. The reason why this happens is happiness, the Bhagavad Gita says, is a very relative term. Happiness is a relative term. Happiness exists at 3 levels. How many levels? 3. The lowest level is called tamo guna happiness, or happiness in the mode of ignorance. Higher than that is happiness in rajoguna, and the higher than that is happiness in sattva guna. Now let me little bit elaborate on this, because teenagers, all of you need these weapons to handle your mind, right. So that's why I wanted to touch upon this part. So what is happiness in tamo guna? In tamo guna, means in ignorance, actual standard of happiness is 0. What is the standard of happiness? In tamoguna, how much happiness do we get? 0. Only suffering. But because we have gone into a low level of consciousness, we are convinced that I am enjoying. And a classic example that I often quote is, sometimes a person heavily drunk, we may see that he is lying in the gutter. We know for sure he is suffering and stinking. But do you think the drunkard is able to realize? No. He may be singing duet songs within the gutter, right? And if you tell him, my dear sir, why are you suffering? Please take my hand, I am ready to help you. What do you think he will answer? He will say, get lost, who is suffering? I am enjoying here. You also come, enjoy with me, right? That is what he is going to say. But if you do a video recording, and next day when he comes back to his normal consciousness, if you show him, yesterday you were enjoying amazing experience, please check out. He will understand that he was suffering, right. So this is tamoguna. There is no happiness at all, but we get programmed to think I am happy. Everyone will understand that you are suffering, except whom? Except ourselves. Such dangerous is tamoguna, right. Everyone will know we are suffering, but we are convinced that I am enjoying. Have you ever seen any hardcore drunkard crying and going to the bar, today I have to go and drink. No, he's convinced he's going to enjoy, but actually he's inviting only suffering. So this is tamoguna. There is zero happiness, only suffering, but we are convinced that there is happiness. And higher than that is rajoguna. Rajoguna means there is certainly some extra happiness, but the suffering is plentyfold, many. Okay, like if you look at current recent thing that is trying to come from the Western world into our Indian domain is this concept of live-in relationships, right? There is some extra form of happiness that okay, there's no restriction, all our Indian system had a regulated marriage, etc. But American crime department says the greatest threat is not terrorist in America, but this live-in relationship kind. Why? Because there is some extra happiness, but lot of suffering that follows. What are the forms of suffering? First thing is parents don't know, so they have to hide. All apps may have a lot of things, and the biggest problem is the boy is not committed to the girl. Imagine the boy thinks of going with some other girl. This is what happens in America. A police person was in a funny way explaining. Imagine the boy goes behind another girl, and then this girl is saying, no, we are committed. He said, what commitment? I am not committed to you, I can go to someone else. Whom are you going? You are going with her? If she remains alive only you will go, no? She shoots. And then he starts shouting, how dare you do this? I am going to complain to the police. If you remain alive only you will complain, no? She will shoot him. And then she will go crazy. What did I do? I just killed 2 of them. Now I am helpless, I am restless. Before she shoots herself, some 10 other people out of frustration, and she also. Have you not seen this news repeatedly in US? Yes. And somebody has tested, given a ISO certification, this doesn't work. But still Indians are trying. Probably you didn't know the formula. We'll change the formula and make it work. This is Rajoguna happiness. Are you able to understand? For that one extra drop of pleasure, there is so much anxiety for the boy, for the girl, for the family, for the society, for the country, everything. So this is Rajoguna. And what is Sattva-guna? Sattva-guna means happiness in a regulated way, but zero suffering. How much suffering? Zero. Have you ever seen our parents, grandparents checking the wife's mobile? Tell me, whom are you chatting? I doubt you. Maybe you are having some extra relationship. Have you ever seen these things? Right? Because they went through a regulated process followed, because the Vedas are meant to keep us happy. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. God is very merciful. Why will He give rules and regulations to make us miserable? Even our Father loves us so much. Do you think God will put some rules and regulations to make us miserable? No, He is always looking for the best of us. But we think I am smarter than the Vedas. Vedas are all some outdated stuff. They don't have any meaning. They are all superstition, like that. And then we try to invent, and we end up with more misery. Are you able to understand, dear students? So, as I said, the mind is going to trouble us, but we should realize, I am looking for happiness at the highest platform, Sattva Guna. So, I am okay to say no to Rajoguna and Tamoguna, like that. Okay. So, this is about one thing. And the second thing which I wanted to, with this I will conclude. The second thing is called abstain and sustain method.
Sir, you did say God has greater plans, but sometimes you are not able to comprehend it well.
Yes.
That time we do tend to go to
Yes.
many non-conventional.
Non-conventional, yes. The problem, I understand. Very sincere question. I appreciate you, because it's coming from deep sincerity within your heart. I appreciate that. So the problem in India, if you analyze, is we had a very rich heritage. You just Google up 1835, the letter written by Macaulay to the British Parliament. Have you ever Googled it up? Try Googling Macaulay's letter to British government about Indian education system. When Macaulay came to India, he saw India is impossible for us to conquer, because we had such high spiritual culture. There was not a beggar who was hungry, because we were so charitable. People would have their homes open, and they didn't have to fear any dacoits or others. And then he said, with this much spiritual culture, it is impossible for us to conquer India. So he said, let us make our Westerners, our Englishmen, read and try to understand Sanskrit and misinterpret the Vedic scriptures and try to minimize the faith of Indians in their own practices and make them feel we are following a bunch of superstition. That's how the Gurukul education system was gone, and then our modern education system came. And then we completely lost connect. I come from a South Indian Brahmin family. When my thread ceremony happened, I asked the priests, can you tell me the meaning of the mantras that we are chanting? Nobody is having any idea because there long disconnect. I told them, they said only one meaning, chant Gayatri mantra, your intelligence will develop, go to America, mint money, that's all. Is this the purpose of religion? I certainly doubt. Yes, it's like a business exchange, and that's what is happening to our young generation. Our parents unfortunately have got disconnected with that divine message where everything is logical, scientific, and whatever question you have, there's an answer for it. That much scientific it is, but we don't have access to that, and a long gap has gone, and so we start thinking this is all bunch of superstition. And fortunately, when I was in NIT Surathkal in my first year engineering, like all of you, I was also attending one such seminar, and then the seniors of such kind of club helped me understand everything in a scientific manner. Then I began appreciating. So I was also benefited. Although it's lost to a majority of the crowd, there's at least 5 to 10% of them knowing exactly why we should do what we should do. And now, if we are sincere, then God will send us such people regularly so that we can connect to them and try to understand what is the plan behind, right? That way. So yes, that is the reason when you try asking, you don't know whom to ask, because unfortunately in India there is no education given on this. Neither our parents are well educated nor our elders, but there are saintly people still existing in this world who are divine practitioners. There are so many faltu also, but there are many sincere practitioners. Just like when you go to a medical hospital, there are many faltu doctors who want to charge us money, but that doesn't mean there are no real doctors existing, right? Just because there are some commercial hospitals, do we avoid going to hospitals at all? No. It's our duty to search out for the right hospital and get cured, right? Same way, when you are sincere, you also search, and God will surely send such right people so that you understand messages thoroughly. That's what happened to us. That's what happened to many of us. We just had, it's not that we had great sincerity, some here and there, but God is very loving. He will make sure He will send the right people, that way. So in the future we are planning some seminars also in a scientific manner. Probably once now your lab internals and other things are happening, right? Busy time. So after that we'll organize whatever scientific things, if college does give permission, right? So that is, so anyway, the last slide. This is somewhat kind of similar. I told you, starve bad habits, supplement it with good habits, and stay away from tempting environments. Okay. So Jesus gives this analogy in the Bible. In the Bible, Jesus says, we have a good dog barking, we have a bad dog barking within our hearts. And needless to say, which is the dog that barks loudest? The bad dog. Imagine we have a piece of bread, and many a times this is the mistake we make. I tell our boys especially, because boys means generally we have a feeling that I am macho, I am something great, like that, right? So I tell them, real bravery is not in how many people you can do dadagiri or boss over. Real braveness is how much we can say no to our raging bad dog. We are making other people afraid, but we are afraid of the bad dog barking within us. What dadagiri you are doing then? If you are a real dadagiri, you should do dadagiri and control whom? Control the raging dog who is barking within. Isn't it? So many a times Jesus says there's a good dog barks louder, and we fear so much the bad dog. We think if I give him the piece of bread, then he will keep quiet, and then we give him the piece of bread and we think, okay, thank God, now he has stopped. But what is the problem? Next time when we get a piece of bread, who is going to bark louder? You have fed the bad dog previously, neglected the good dog, now again you have a piece of bread. Who is going to bark more louder? bad dog. Why? Who can tell me why the bad dog is going to bark even louder than before? Because it has got a habit, when I bark, I know I'll be fed. Yes, so it barks louder than before. And another reason is because when we have neglected the good dog becomes weak. It can't bark so much, right? And this is what happens to all of us. We feed the bad dog first time, then second time we think it will slow down, but it only barks louder and louder and louder. So that's why Jesus says, somehow you starve the bad dog. I know it's difficult, but have determination and say, no, I want to neglect you at least once so that you become weak, and then the good dog will gain strength and slowly start screaming. I can recollect in my own life, first time I copied in an exam in my 5th standard. I cried for almost an hour. How much? 1 hour. Second time when I copied in 7th standard, I didn't mind much about it. I maybe felt bad for 5 minutes. And in 9th and 10th we used to make plans. This chapter, okay, sharing is caring. Friend in need is a friend indeed. Like that. So what is happening? First time the bad dog was never fed. The good dog was screaming, you're doing something which is not your right thing to do. We felt bad, but eventually we neglected it, and the good dog became weaker and weaker, and the bad dog became stronger and stronger. So this is the determination test for all of us, that I know it's going to be painful, but somehow starve the bad dog. Twice, thrice you do it, you will get confidence that yes, I can resist the barking. And then good dog will get strength, and parallelly keep cultivating association of saintly people, read good things, and all that put together can make us the actual person whom we want ourselves to be, right? So that is the new you who will come out. And it's not a one-day job, it's years of practice which we need, but we need to make a beginning somewhere, right? Just like when we were a small child, did we immediately pick up a cycle and learn how to ride? No, right? It involves stages. There will be stages where you will fall, break your leg, etc. But you shouldn't become scared thinking that no, it's too painful. Then we'll never learn how to ride the cycle, right? So take this. This is the exciting adventure for all of us. Managing a company is difficult if one cannot manage oneself. So first we'll have to try to manage ourselves. Then we can manage the company, can manage the world in a better way, and do some productive service rather than destructive service. Okay. So with this I would like to conclude. I'm extremely thankful for your patient hearing, sincerity, attention. I hope whatever divine message that transformed my heart to some little bit has also touched you in a positive way. If anything good that you found from the session, the credit should go to all the seniors who have been mentoring me, guiding me since 2007 when I went to engineering. And if you found anything not so correct, it is surely my own imperfections due to my lack of sincere practice. Okay, with this I would like to conclude. If there are some more questions, 2-3 minutes we will take up. There is a feedback form given to you, please fill that, and in future if you are interested to attend some other sessions, I think there is an option given also. Based on your response, we can talk to the management and also see. This is what we want to do. We want to help many of you to become a principle centered leader. Become a leader with competence and character. Then you can do great service to yourself and to the society. Alright. Any questions, students? Thank you once again. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, students? Ask. Yeah, ask. It's okay. No need to be shy. You would like to ask something? Yourself, yes. No.
Feel free to ask anything if you want. You can ask. So he has given many lectures outside, so he can take the advantage of that.
So how do we keep the motivation going on? The thing is, I hear one talk, I get motivated very instantly.
True.
5-10 after an hour later, I don't have that motivation like I had.
Correct. As I said, the key is association. Again you have to associate with positive things. I was telling my 12th standard kids, last year when Abhinandan Sarkar made those heroics, they all came up, sir, we also want to join the Indian Air Force, tell me how. Then Neeraj Chopra won the gold medal. Then they all came up saying, sir, we want to get into Olympics, what do we do? Like that. So we have that tendency to immediately get inspired, but for continuing on that path, we really need association of like-minded people. So that is why you'll have to seek. Jesus said, seek it and you shall receive it. So more and more you seek, pray to God sincerely that I need to be protected in such association. Give me more such association. God will arrange for you such association. So, and of course, you can just like how we search for good eateries, etc. Google up and find out where can you learn more about Bhagavad Gita. Go to such centers, learn, right? And your two teachers here, electrical, they'll also give you a lot of good guidance, because they wanted to do this session for you all for their benefit. So these are right people whom you can talk to and get more inputs on where you can get such knowledge, because motivation is something that many a times goes away, and the only way is this: being out of sight is out of mind. So when we are out of sight of bad things, then it will go out of the mind. Same way, if you are out of sight of good people, it will also go out of the mind. So be regularly associating, that's all. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Anything, boys, you would like to ask? No? Okay, so all of you have come after 12th, so we wish you all the very best for your future. God has given each of you one divine gift and quality. Please utilize it to the fullest. I always tell, imagine you go and give a gift to your friend on a birthday, and then the friend says, oh, thank you very much, and then he puts it in the garbage. Pains the heart, right? Isn't it? And this is what we are doing to God. God has gifted all of us with one noble quality. We say, thank you, God, I don't care for you. Put it. How much pain God should be, right? He's gifted each of us with some noble qualities. We just have to fan it and try to revive our divine nature. That's all. The Vedas say all of us are like pure water, rainwater, which is pure. But when it comes into mud, it becomes contaminated. But that doesn't mean it can never be reinstated back to its pure state, isn't it? We follow a process. Same way, the process of spirituality will help us to reawaken our divine nature. That's all. Okay. All the very best. Thank you. Yes.
So I think so you have seen, Sir has explained nicely, graphically, what is the intelligence, mind, so everything. Then he has given different tips for controlling mind. So if you go to the doctor, he will give both prescription and prohibition. So prescription is like you keep on attending these sessions. So we will be arranging these sessions mostly monthly twice or monthly once. So that is like prescription. Then prohibition is whatever Sir was telling, you follow that. Then you can control this mind very easily. So we are very grateful to Sir for giving his time, because he is very busy person. He is the managing director for the institute. So let us thank him by giving applause. And we are grateful to faculties like we have Kalyan Sir, he is assistant professor from EEE department. And there is great endeavor put by your seniors like Rohit. So there are other seniors. They have put this endeavor to arrange this session. So let us thank them also. So then finally, so without you, this session is not possible. Thank you all.
Sir also from EEE department. Sir name is